to Beyond the Ring, a podcast that covers all things in the stock show industry from the informative to the insane, starring Ryan Rash.
The top of one mountain is the bottom of the next, so never quit climbing.
And Dale Hummel.
You need to hang out with people who fit your future, not your past.
Now on with the show.
Welcome to Beyond the Ring. This is Dale Hummel, along with co-star Ryan Rash.
Hello, hello, hello.
Welcome, Ryan. I assume you're in Shrek's house in Crockett, Texas today.
Yes, I am in my I'm like Rapunzel. I'm in the tower alone. It's wonderful. And I leave shortly.
Like maybe the 10th day you've stayed in Crockett in 10 months? I don't know.
This is the longest I have been. Well, see, I went to Houston. I had to go to Houston, and I spent the night. But this is definitely the longest stretch I've been in Crockett.
You had to go to Houston, or you wanted to go to Houston.
It was vital. I've been to Houston the past 2 days. I had wardrobe issues. It's very stressful. Very stressful.
Well, I had a beautifully 72-degree day yesterday in the wonderful Phoenix, Arizona of things. Today, it is nonstop rain.
They should find a cover for the cow ring. That would help things.
They do have it tarped at the moment. Waiting.
No, it's not tarped. I'm watching the feed right now. It's not tarped.
It was a little while ago, I should say, before the show started.
These poor children are getting drizzled on, but it'll be fine.
And you assume if it gets raining harder, they'll move inside somewhere.
Do you want to tell all of your listeners about your lovely trip to the Arizona National and how you slept in the truck and you're staying in the ghetto and all the things?
I wish I slept in the truck. My wife did drive.
You did sleep in the truck, or you lied to me.
I drove most of the time, so I wasn't asleep. I did
after you got there and in the parking lot, you slept in the truck.
Well, there was only a couple hours there, but we did make the 24-hour journey straight through. My wife and myself and our two younger children, Chase and Katie. Katie offered to drive several times, but I don't really want her breaking the speed limit. I kind of wanted to get here. So I continue to drive most of the time. And as Ryan put it, he's pretty sure that I'm in the ghetto because I told him we're 3 blocks from the fairgrounds. And it's actually
I know that
Airbnb that I'm very happy with. And I'm usually kind of picky about those. But this one's convenient. Work.
Lock all your doors and windows. That's all I'm saying.
I think it's older, but I would not call it a bad part of town. But when my wife told me we're that close to the fairgrounds, I was a little sketchy on. I'm with you on that one.
There must be some area within this 3-block radius that I have never seen before, and I've seen a lot of the Arizona National area. I'm just telling you.
No, and we've got some friends that have one about a block from here. They're pretty happy with theirs. I don't
walk down there and get shot. Tell them hi. It'll be fine.
Yes, I don't know that I'd go wandering around at night. That part I'm not sure. But
yes.
Very happy with the accommodations as far as clean and neat and new and redone. It's pretty good.
And you've got your camera set up so nobody can screw with your animals, but you don't watch your surveillance cameras. But I mean, it's fine.
I do. And it's recording, so I can go back and check it anytime I need to.
This should be hours of fun.
It should be hours of fun. It's been good so far. It's kind of laid back. It's all good. Mm-hmm. All positive.
Not if you were trying to fly there. It was not positive, especially on Southwest.
There's several of our families that are showing here that a mother or a father or a grandparent was planning on flying in and not coming down in the truck and trailer that, I mean, just about all of them ended up driving. I mean, from all over the country. And you hear the same story down here. They try to rebook a flight. I looked at some flights. We're on Southwest going back.
No, you were on Southwest. Southwest is not flying anywhere, sir.
I am still booked on Southwest. We were going to leave after the Supreme Champion Breeding Open Cattle Show about 6:00 Saturday night, New Year's Eve. And we still have the tickets, but I looked to book other ones and can't find much. And when you do, it's almost $3,000 one way. And I'm not doing that. I'd reside in Arizona first.
Shocking.
And I don't think the first class tickets were available, Ryan. You would be out of luck.
Oh, well.
They get first class in Southwest, if that counts.
There you go. They don't have first class in Southwest. But anyway, next. Moving on.
It's called an exit row.
Well, I'm just telling you that I warned you. So when you were stranded in Arizona or you have to ride on the hood of your truck, because there were 4 of y'all coming down here and there's 6 of y'all going back, don't blame the game.
7 now.
Because
Yeah, it's
7.
not gonna. We can't physically work. Our young lady from Nevada went home over Christmas. Is meeting us here, so she's going to ride back in the truck.
I think if they just strap you to the hood, it'll be fine.
And you kids are. I was going to put the kids in the popper, but we looks like we're gathering too many goats to go back home with us. So it's not going to work without this flight. It just won't work. And I don't know. I tried telling Ryan earlier that something's up with Southwest that they're not telling him.
No, you are a liar, sir. You lie all the time. When all this started happening, I said, there's something they're not telling us. This is bold. It's not on any of the news things. And you just shushed me for 2 days. Now, today, when it affects you, maybe, because I listened to the little Southwest man and he said that nobody's doing nothing until next week. Now, you were on it from the beginning. Do not listen to him, listeners. He is lying to you.
Confused.
Lying.
That's all I'm going to call it.
Lying.
It's confused. Remember when I called you up and said, "Hey, there's some airline issues." You said, "What are you talking about? I don't see this on the news. I don't see anything."
There was nothing on the news, and then I read. There's still not. Today was the first day.
I don't know how they avoided talking about this when Southwest cancels almost all
over 8,000 flights in the past 3 days. Over 8,000.
Did you ever get a news, like one of those news beeps?
No, no notifications, no nothing. You had to research it. And now today on Fox this morning, when I was driving back to Houston, they did have the little Southwest Airlines man on there. And he was not very apologetic.
That's good. And I don't think the other airlines had a lot of problems. It just snowballed when everybody got canceled on Southwest. All the other flights booked up, and there's nothing left. It's a mess.
The other ones had minor things, but not like huge things. But yeah, no, I don't know. It's a disaster.
Very compounding.
I want to tell you, I don't not have many current events because I have been busy. I'm leaving soon, and I don't get back till like January 23rd. I've got 9,000 shows to judge, show at, whatever. I'm busy, so I've had a lot. So I haven't had a lot of news. Then I had to go to Houston, and that there was no time for news during that either. But
the whole had thing I have a hard time with. But go ahead.
Yeah, I did. It was very important. Biden has left for a tropical vacation. Did you know that?
The tropics of Delaware?
No, he's literally left, flew out today on Air Force One for some tropical vacation.
Like leaving the country tropical?
That's what they said.
Maybe Florida. DeSantis wouldn't let him in. He's not going to Florida.
Oh, let's not talk about DeSantis. He's stirring all kinds of shit up. But I just want you to know that
I've seen zero news.
Your president is on a tropical vacation. Aren't you happy about that?
He's been working hard. He deserves a little getaway, I believe.
Oh, the most. I mean,
he can take his 80,000 million
Virgin Islands
IRS agents with him.
That's where he went. He went to the Virgin Islands, so it's technically not another country, kind of, but not really.
No, he kind of skated that, didn't he, to stay somewhat in country, I guess you could say.
Yes. So,
I don't think I want to see him on the beach. Thing, not to circle too far back, but Southwest, you know the real problem there.
I'm sure somebody hacked them.
Yeah, and you know who that is.
Your favorite people.
CCP.
CCP? Oh, the Chinese Communist Party. Yeah, I was like, what? Yeah. Just say it, Dale.
There's a chance it's Russia, but it's all kind of the same. And it's infuriating me. And I had too much time to think about things and pull up different podcasts and listen to different things on the way down here. The fact that China and Russia are now aligned basically against the West, and India has chosen to go that direction as well. The population combined, not as much Russia, but China and India, is overwhelming. And I understand at this point in warfare, it isn't all about population, but it can have a huge impact in terms of the, I guess, economic warfare. And it's very uneasy to me that India would choose to go that way. And I understand that they're closer to China. There's more ties there. But I thought we were outsourcing enough stuff to India. For some reason in my mind, 6 months ago, probably a year ago, I would have thought if they had to make a choice, they might lean towards the West, but it just is not happening. And the whole 50-year plan that China has been working on for quite some time now, the awareness that we have out there in the public, I'm concerned about. So I'm gonna mention it again as our year in review of current events. when we talk about a 50-year plan, that the patience that China has to infiltrate our universities, to educate their very best and bring that information back home, to purchase farm ground. There's a situation right now that I can't even believe it was allowed to happen, and we're really not doing anything about it. But there's a portion, I believe it's around in the Colorado, Nevada, Wyoming. There's telecom services that run right along with a lot of our intercontinental ballistic missiles, as Clifton would put it. I just had the abbreviations for it, where we have a lot of those located. And just to simplify it, basically, there's a hotspot for these missiles. And within this hotspot, there's smaller telecommunication company that provide Wi-Fi or whatever it may be. And China basically has supplied all the equipment for this at a severely discounted rate where they're losing money on it, or the company from China, Huawei, I believe, is the one that supplied it. They're losing money so they can get the equipment in these areas, and now they basically can intercept what they call the military band channel, where they can intercept any military communication via email, via internet. And we recognized this a couple years ago, I believe in 2019 or 2020, and made a comment that, okay, the government is going to replace all of these, and the telecommunication businesses says, well, it'll be this much, and we'll replace them if that's what you want us to do. To this day, they have not been replaced, and they're still picking up all the information in that area. It's going directly to the Chinese government, and these things they almost sound to me when I'm saying it like conspiracy theories and just way out there. But you can research this, and it's documented. It's real, and once we recognize it, we still don't act upon it. And I can't understand. There's so many things going on that China's able to do in terms of infiltrating. Look at Ryan. There's no question. It scares me. I'm gonna change topic to prove a point here. Electric cars, EVs, electric vehicles. It looks like GM, Ford, a lot of them are switching very quickly. Can we agree on that?
What? I was asleep. No, I mean, yeah, no.
Just that electric vehicle push, huge, and on our bigger car companies, to the point where it almost frightens me, because there is no infrastructure that can handle it. It just doesn't seem to work at this point. But cobalt is one of the what we call the I don't know if it falls in the rare minerals, but it's needed in all of our lithium batteries, from our cell phones to the electric car batteries, and it allows them to be more stable. They don't overheat. It gives them a longer range. It does a lot of good. There are batteries without it, but they're not quite as efficient and not as popular at the moment. So China's set themselves up, and I knew this was happening in Africa, and specifically in the Congo. There's a relatively small area that's very rich in cobalt, and they basically have slave labor, which they claim isn't, mining this cobalt, and they control most of the 80% of the cobalt mines in the world and refineries. When we go all electric, we've become more dependent than on China. And it just continues to snowball. That why would we make this big push to electric vehicles when all of a sudden China can shut off our ability to manufacture batteries or sell us batteries for them? We're getting so far, so deep, we don't need to go to war with them. All they have to do is pull the plug on some of our, I guess, critical items that we have to have for daily survival, and they win. It's over. Maybe that's better than a nuclear war, but it's really concerning to me that we continue to allow this to happen. I hear very little coming out of the government. We're putting up a chip factory. Great. But I think that should be done along with 1,000 other things that are not being done. And when China has control of what we call the essential products, I just don't know what to do about it. And I get so infuriated going back to the electric vehicles. They call them a feel good car. And I don't mind buying an electric vehicle. I think I'd enjoy the extreme acceleration. I'd buy something from our buddy Elon, because I appreciate what he's trying to do. But
Mm.
why don't people stop and think? I don't think they realize where the power comes to charge the batteries. That's mostly coal-fueled power plants. So we're buying a car, so we have more electricity coming from the coal-fueled power plants. I don't get it. If we were to pull our
It's
head
a
out of our
broken
ass.
cycle.
Oh, it is. We could put up modern nuclear plants like the rest of the world is, and I think it works as far as I can tell. But for some reason, we hear the word nuclear, everybody pushes away from it. And I understand a long time ago that was probably a good idea, but we could build them today that I think are as safe as you could ever imagine, and it solves our energy problem because I don't if you're not gonna use coal and you're pushing back on some of the other fossil fuels, I don't know where they think they're gonna get it. I really don't. I'm thoroughly confused on all of that, and we become more and more dependent on China, and I have issues with that, to say the least.
You think?
Yes, I do.
You
I
just
have
have
a
a
little bit
few
of a rant.
issues?
I apologize. Just a few. I have
Just a
some
few
other
issues?
issues with the more we have billions more dollars going to the 80 billion the IRS already has in this last bill that did you hear anything about 18 Republican senators voted for this deeply injected bill with pork and just crap in it. And 18 Republicans jumped ship and went and voted for the damn thing. I'm out.
Yes, they're
We'll get a
not real
list of those 18
Republican.
and post them. I'm out. And but they're not just a Liz Cheney of the world, 18 of them.
No, I realize,
Very
like, I'm with you. It's very, but again, I know this is kind of like a year in review of everything, but like this just goes back to what I say, Dale, and like I know you don't like fully believe me on this, but the reason that this country is in such problems and the reason that Republicans are never going to win is because of just what you said. It doesn't matter if it's the ones that were elected or when we vote. Republicans do not stick together. Democrats
no.
stick together the most. It does not matter what it is, who they have to vote for, what the bill is, they are going to stick together, and so are the people that vote for them, regardless of the candidate. And that is the biggest problem.
You're right. I disagree with everybody having to stick together and vote for a particular bill or an item when maybe they're against it. I'd rather they were independent thinking, but the Democrats are sticking together. And because of that, the Republicans, in my mind, have no choice. They have to do that, and they're not.
No,
And you're
I
right.
agree
You're
that
absolutely
everybody should
correct.
be able to support whatever they want and vote how they want, whether it's in an election or once you're an elected official and all that. I get that. Vote your conscience. That sounds like a great theory. The best theory in the world. What this country, part of it is made up on. Vote your conscience. The problem is the Democrats don't have any damn conscience. So
Zero.
they just
I
do,
I
they
always
vote together and they stick together. And that's why we are where we are today.
They split them into 2 categories. Some of them that have no conscience, that are intelligent enough to know what's going on, and they just don't care. And then I think there's another segment of them that are just that ignorant that don't know any better. I believe both segments exist. It's very unfortunate.
It is very, very scary on the next 2 years what is going to happen in this presidential election because, again, I mean, Trump has announced his run. Whether he runs or not, I don't know because he's been way too quiet for way too long. And again, so I don't know what's going on there. It's very weird to me. He's never quiet, so I don't get it at all. I also think that again, like I think that the Republicans have way better candidates than the Democrats have for this office. But just okay, so like DeSantis, I like DeSantis, I really do, and like people are gonna say that I'm negative. I'm not. I think he believes in a lot of the Trump policies. I think that he's done great things for the state of Florida, all this other stuff. Here's the issue he goes and he just goes too far on some issues that for the conservative base that is all in it's going to fire them up and rally them up and it's all great, but again what people are forgetting is that there are more and more people that fit in the independent column that and actually claim their independence. And so like his latest deal is, and this has nothing to do with me being gay because we all know I am the worst gay person in the world. But the latest thing that DeSantis has got all ruffled up and he's doing is there was this tour called a Drag Queen Christmas. And you can buy these tickets and you can go to this show. Okay. Well, he has decided they had one in Florida. He has decided that he is going to put investigations and all this stuff over the stupid drag queen show because children could go. Okay, number one, I do not think any child needs to go to a drag queen show. Okay, but number two, if the parents bought the children tickets and took them there, whose fault is that? It's theirs. I mean, it's stupid, but so now he's going to investigate him and something about to the full extent of the law because there was lewd dancing and all that. That's not going to sit well with the independents. Not because they love drag queens, but nobody wants to be told what they can and cannot do with their child. Do you agree with that, Del Hummel?
I agree with it, but I can see where he's coming from. I get it. He's trying to. You're right. I don't want that overreach, and I appreciate him because normally he doesn't have it. But that overreach where we are the government's deciding if the child can go, and obviously the child shouldn't be there. He's trying to
No,
prevent
this is
their
but this
parents
is
from
not a
doing something
government
stupid.
issue. This is a parenting issue. Is my thing.
Yes,
Like the
I
parents should have
agree.
never bought the tickets and sent them to the drag show. I love
I
drag
think
shows.
he's
I think they're great. I'm also not a 12-year-old. So,
what would it, I
I
don't even know
mean,
what a drag show would be involved. I have no idea. Can
a
you
bunch of
educate me? I
men dressed
assume.
as women in risque costumes, lip
Yeah,
syncing, and I mean, I'm sure
it's
there
just like
was
a
some
show.
vulgarity at some. Yeah, it's just like all the stuff you see on my Snapchat. Dale, same thing. But this was a drag queen Christmas. It was, I guess, Christmas music and all this other stuff. And so you buy tickets and you can take your children, whatever. I think the parents are stupid for taking it. My point is, when you do stuff like that, nobody wants to be told what they can and cannot do with their children. But more importantly, there are more people in the middle that may find that like persecuting people. And no one likes it when people persecute people, unless it's Donald Trump. They love to persecute Donald Trump. But other than that, I mean, and so it's just a mess. It's just if he's gonna run, and I hope he runs because I think he's more electable than Trump, he's got to back down from some of this shit. He's just got to.
No, I think he's feeling pretty confident at the moment, and that he can get
Brazen
away.
is
And
the word I would use.
yes, and maybe solid up or secure some of that. I think he's already got the conservative base, but that's the only people he's going to appeal to doing that is the extreme conservative,
When he does
probably.
stuff like that.
And I mean, no, I shouldn't even say extreme.
Yeah.
I mean, conservatives are going to not want that government overreach, but there's going to be some of them that are opposed to the drag queen part of it. Is my
Well,
assumption.
and
So
again,
I don't know where.
I just think that he could just like leave some stuff alone and not, because again, this isn't going to matter now, but it will matter in a presidential campaign because whoever's running against him, whether it's another Republican, or the Democrat, they're going to bring shit like this up and show how he is so far. He's way farther out there than Trump in a lot of areas. And I mean, and so yeah, that's going to be an issue. But again,
You're right. He doesn't put out as many stupid ass statements or comments, but you're right. As far as conservatism, he's further.
oh, and that's fine for most everything. But again, if he truly is running for president and nobody knows and nobody seems to say whatever, I don't know. But if he is, he doesn't need to like just let some shit go, man. I mean, you don't need people. Don't give people ammunition to use against you. Is my thing. He already did that with the can't say gay bill. Now we persecuting the drag shows. I mean, like Jesus Christ, dude. Just breathe. Take a breath. We need you to take a breath, sir.
No, I'm with you on that one. I think that would be to his benefit, and you would think that he could witness some of the issues that President Trump had and where he went wrong, and just let's dial it back a little bit. And I think he would. You're right. He'd be better off. I wish I knew whether for
Do
sure.
you think Trump's gonna run?
I would have said once he committed, absolutely, but now that he's been so silent, there's something really screwed up, and I don't know what it is.
I
But
don't either.
I think he wakes up in the morning and has to consciously just take a deep breath not to go out and say something. I think it's very
You're
difficult
probably
for
right.
him to not speak, and there has to be a pretty darn good reason he's not. And I don't know what.
Yeah, I don't know either. But I mean, and again, and we're not going to know because the media is just blacking him out, complete isolation. He doesn't exist. So I don't know. I think it's very strange. Very, very strange.
I do have a bit of good news on Putin.
Oh, good.
I listened to a couple podcasts about Putin on the way down. I had a
Well,
long
you
time
only
trip.
had like a 4-hour trip. Yeah.
Very, very long trip. And this makes perfect sense. Think about the fall of a lot of dictators and how that comes about. I believe, and there
Revolution.
was one of them. Yeah, and there's reasons why that revolution started, but I think a lot of it starts with those dictators, whatever you want. Some of them aren't going to call themselves dictators, but essentially are. And Putin would not call himself a dictator, but that's exactly what he is. They become very paranoid, and their inner circle becomes smaller and smaller and smaller to the point where their information that they're gathering is coming through one or two people, and probably very skewed because those one or two people that are still within the inner circle are doing nothing but telling Putin what he wants to hear. In other words, prior to invading Ukraine, they were telling him we can take it in a day or two. And just bad information coming from a small population of the inner circle of advisors. But the more paranoid they become and the fewer people that they can trust that are giving them guidance and information, all of a sudden things start going backwards and backwards. It's interesting now that he's kind of opened his eyes, he's starting to admit that, wow, we've made some mistakes, and this is a tough battle. Where in the initial, I guess, invasion, I think, including you and I, Ryan, we assumed to be over in 48 hours. I did anyway.
I
But
thought he could. I
it's
mean, I don't know about 48 hours, but I thought he could damn sure wrap it up pretty quick if he really, really wanted to.
short of nuclear war, he just can't.
Yeah.
And that's a positive thing. And the fact that he's lost trust, he no longer has trust in many people around him. I think he's in a bad position, which we can look at as positive that eventually he will fall, or we can look at it as, oh shit, when it comes time for him to lose power, how crazy does he get? And if he gets nuclear crazy, it's bad. We're closer right now, and I'm not trying to be negative, people. We're closer right now, whether it be Russia, China, crazy ass North Korea probably isn't there yet. Maybe Iran in terms of nuclear warfare. It's a scary place right now. It just is.
So we've gone pretty long on her events. So the only, again, just kind of year in review thing. The only thing that I hope, and I'm going to put a positive spin on the end of current events, is that Republicans have control of the House. And while I hope they do investigations and investigate things that need to be investigated and all this other stuff, I hope they don't abuse their power as much as the Democrats have in the last few years with all the investigating and all that. Investigate the things that are important, that matter, that make a difference to the American people, and leave the rest of its shit alone and try to get something done that will actually help the citizens of the United States. That is my hope for this next year when they get control of the House.
I am with you. You don't think they should weaponize the IRS, the DOJ, and the FBI like maybe has happened the past couple of years? You don't think
No,
we
I
should do
don't.
that then?
I think that, but see, like all the Democrats do is that, and they investigate, whatever. Like there are things like the FBI and all that stuff with the Twitter and all that. We need to figure out what happened there. Okay, like there's something very wrong in that situation. But again, like everyone is so tired of it because that's all they've done to Trump for 6 years now. I don't know if they believe half the shit that comes out. So they need to pick and choose their battles, I guess is my thing, and be more focused on actually trying to get some things passed that will help the American people right now because things aren't good in a lot of areas. And I think that will help them more than anything if they do that in the next election. So that's what I'm hoping for.
I agree completely. Well, with that, I do have something I would like to say, Ryan. That is not
Okay.
current events. It's not our main topic.
Oh my! This is about your H2O
You can
people.
you would have never, ever guessed this. But
Oh,
Show Fresh H2O is present at the Arizona National. It is being used. I've talked to several of my
large
families. I said,
life-size
guys,
cutout of Dale Hummel.
did you bring water from home? No, we've got Show Fresh H2O. We've been using it all summer, working great. So I'm getting every time I get out in the public, and I'm not a very public kind of guy, but when I'm in the public and at the shows, I'm getting that feedback, and it makes me happy because I think goats are, and I'm probably being biased here because that's what we're working the most with at the moment, but they're so darn finicky about the water. But the fact that it appears to be chlorine is one of the deterring factors of them not drinking, and the people that have been using the Show Fresh H2O. Extremely, extremely good reports coming from a lot of those families. So that makes me feel good. American made, local supply trailer, swampfox.com, and the fact that they support this podcast and allow it to happen each week. Thank you, Show Fresh H2O. If you haven't tried it, please do so.
Thank you, Show Fresh H2O. I do appreciate everything that you do for Dale and the podcast. I think that you're in love with Show Fresh H2O.
BTRJLA news?
Like, does Holly get jealous? Like, do you like have a jug of Show Fresh H2O like on your nightstand and like kiss it goodnight? I figured
you don't have to refrigerate. You don't have to keep it heated. You leave it out in the trailer. It works. It won't. You don't have to worry about the temperatures. Won't freeze. Won't get too hot. All good. All positive.
Your poor wife.
Now,
so
the BTRJLA, I'm getting questions and questions. They think I am the BTRJLA know everything person.
Yeah,
and little do they know,
it's the last person they need to talk to too.
When they ask me a question, I simply text Ryan or call him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So BTRJLA, over this past month, I've thanked all of our huge sponsors for 2022. We really appreciate everybody that sponsored this past year. It would not have been possible without all of you. We are looking for sponsors for 2023. Again, if you want information about being a sponsor, please email, text me, Facebook message me. But just a brief rundown on sponsorships. A corporate sponsor is $5,000 and you get 5 podcast ad spots. If you want to do like the national in a species, it's $2,500. We've got a couple of those still left. If you want to be a national top 10 jacket or award sponsor, that's $2,000 and you get 2 podcast spots. Same with the national species sponsor. If you want to sponsor a species within your region, it's $1,500. You get a podcast spot. Plus you get social media stuff and all this other stuff. But if you're interested, please contact me. We'd be glad to talk to you about it. We do need sponsors for 2023, and we greatly, greatly appreciate all the sponsors that we had in 2022. As far as points, Dale is going to go talk to someone at the show when he gets off this podcast and see how quick they can email me points, because like the Junior Heifer show's going on right now. So if you could get those to me tonight, Dale, that'd be great. I'm just saying, no pressure at all. No pressure at all. But I literally spent this little stretch in Crockett trying to get every show in, and we have all but 2 that were sanctioned shows that have sent results. When we don't have those 2. We got several more. We got a couple more in today. We will put another point. We'll probably update the points before Sunday, depending on what we can get from Arizona, but we'll definitely update again Sunday once we get everything in. And I've contacted those 2 shows. They say they're working on it. Once we get everything in, we will post final points. From the day that we post final points, we're going to give you 7 days to report any conflicts, any whatever. Don't think your points are right. You've got 7 days to email points at btrjla.com. Not info@btrjla.com, not sanctioning at btrj, points at btrjla.com. Trisha Simsick is the points coordinator. She will be happy to send you a PDF printout, work with you, just all these things, but you're only going to have 7 days. And when we get them up, we'll give the date at 5 o'clock on that last day that we post. It's done. There's no going back. There's no nothing. It is what it is, because we then have to start to mail out over 2,000 awards, folks. So we cannot just like drag this on forever. And so we're super excited about 2023. The Points Year starts January 1 all over again. So if you haven't joined, and we're getting tons of new members every day, go to btrjla.com/shop, sign your kid up for 2023. Cattlemen's Congress, all those shows in January, Denver, you name it. And we're on there. If you want to sanction your show, you can do it online. So again, anybody, you can reach out, multiple emails, Facebook message, all that stuff. For the final time in 2022, I am going to give you the top 10 all around. Are you ready, Dale? Now, this may not be how it shakes out, but there's very few points left. But in first is Paisley Carlton of Orland, California, with 1,050 points. Second is Piper Liska of Yuma, Arizona, with 1,020 points. So after a whole year, those two girls are 30 points apart. That's pretty close. Third is Hadley Owens of Torrington, Wyoming. Fourth is Hayden Schrader of Texas. Fifth is Olivia Arnold of Milton, Pennsylvania. Sixth is Isabella Lowry of Helena, Montana. Seventh is Macy Zerbach of Roseburg, Oregon. Eighth is Cody Pratt, Blackfoot, Idaho. Ninth is Addison Roberts of Sutherland, Oregon. And rounding out the top 10 today is Blake Holmes of Vernal, Utah.
Congratulations. It may change a little bit, but that's going to be pretty close.
Oh, I mean, it can change. With Arizona being double points, it can definitely change, but that is where it is right now. And so great for these kids. And again, and in the all around, you can show all 4 species. I know Piper Liska shows sheep and goats. Paisley had sheep and goats and cattle. Hayden's got sheep and goats. I don't know all of them in this top 10, but I know lots of them. And so again, cool for them. Look forward to seeing whoever gets the big disco ball trophy of that deal. And there's several of the cattle points right now. It's going to be decided in Phoenix because 2 of the top 3 are out there, and there's only 10 points separating 2 of the top 3. So it will be interesting to see in the next couple of days, but super excited. It's been a great first year, and we appreciate everybody that was a member, everybody that sanctioned the show, and everyone that sponsored.
I have some great ideas, Ryan, for the presentation of the all around, which I'm not going to talk about. We don't want to spoil it. But if I can just get you to believe, it'll be amazing.
Right. Yeah. Believe. Yeah. Whatever. Next. Moving on.
Moving on to a year in review of stock shows, stock show families, anything and everything.
Anything you want. But I am going, everybody has New Year's resolutions and New Year, new me and all this other. Okay, first I'm going to tell you there ain't no New Year, new me. I am going to be the same lovable, crazy, paranoid, whatever the hell bundle of joy that y'all have all come to love. Okay, I'm not saying there is no year, new me, same me, but new year. But instead of resolutions, which I'm going to ask Dale if he has a resolution, I have a New Year's challenge. Dale, are you ready?
I'm ready.
You're ready. Okay. So,
challenge for me or you or somebody else?
I'm challenging everyone that's listening to this podcast right now. My New Year's challenge for you.
We may be down to just a couple listeners. You never know.
I don't think so. But New Year's challenge is, and I would love for everyone to accept this challenge under all shows and all judges, but especially under me. If you're going to show to the gay in 2023, let's just not have a herd of fitters follow them in. Not even one. Let's just let those animals go in with that kid and let it sort out. Because again, the more I judge these shows, the more annoying it gets when this flock of fitters are whoever is tapping this animal in the ring. Half of them I don't even know, and the other half it's not going to make a difference. So my challenge is just don't do it. Just don't. And I would want everyone to do that challenge everywhere, but especially if you're going to show under me, just don't do it. Let's just not do it. How disappointed am I going to be, Dale?
As you're moving your Cattle Congress, your next show, or you have something before that?
Yeah, Cattle Congress. Yeah, I judge on January 1.
So you're making the announcement at Cattle Congress. Do not follow them in the ring to him. Just don't do it. It isn't going to make any difference.
I'm just saying, don't do it.
Save the energy.
Just don't. Let's just not.
So maybe maybe what you need to do is the next one that follows it in, you just visit about it on the microphone as you're talking that close.
I would hate to embarrass a child.
That would
I would
no,
hate
not
to
the
embarrass
child.
a child.
This child is the best child ever. However, that fitting crew that just followed it in, no more. We're done. No more.
I don't know. We'll see.
I'm
getting real fed up with it. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie about it. But that's my New Year's challenge. Just don't do it. You don't have to. It does not make a difference. Just don't do it. That's my New Year's challenge. Thank you.
That is a very good challenge. I think the everything and anything we can do to make these things less political, the better. And I had an interesting conversation today, Ryan. One of our families that we've worked with for several years, their grandparents, the children's grandparents, aren't involved in the livestock industry in any manner. They do not know a lot about it or understand it. But they came to Phoenix to watch their grandkids show. And this has been the first show that they've ever gone to. And I had several questions from the grandfather, and they're very intelligent questions about this being its own industry that he was completely unaware that even existed. And one of the questions that he posed to me, one of many that were very, very good, he says, is there any favoritism from the judges to certain families or kids? And I mean, it's just embedded in our DNA that those kind of things are going to happen. And I think we have to make a conscious effort to fight back or push back and avoid it as best possible. And I keep saying in my mind, it appears to get worse all the time. And I don't know that it is. Maybe I'm more aware of the connection between A, B, and C. I don't know which it is, but it definitely it hasn't gotten better. I don't think. I'm not saying maybe it's gotten as bad as is what is in my head, but it continues. And we've talked about it so many times. We can't expect the show managers. We can't expect the superintendents, the committee that's hiring the judges to know all those connections in each species. It isn't there. There's going to be an elite group of people within each species that are showing pretty heavily on the national stage that would recognize a lot of those connections. And it's the reality of it. We choose to go to some shows and choose not to go to some shows because I don't want to go knowing that we really don't have a chance to win that, no matter how good of one we bring. And I think there's other people out there in those positions. And I'm telling you right now, an incentive to push back on the political bullshit that's happening, you need to make that choice and do a little bit of your research and decide which shows to go to and which shows not to. And those shows start losing numbers and they realize it's because they're hiring the wrong judges, that will correct it. The exhibitors that are having some input at those shows, you sure would think those are the ones that they're going to support. And it just, you would think when you're asked to judge a show that you're too closely tied to because of whatever it may be, genetically, personal connections, any of those things that it can be. Even if you go out there and do the best you can, it's hard and the perception isn't good. And I'm not saying that there's judges out there that can go out there and judge their own animals. And I've judged my own animals. And I would like to believe I'm harder on them than not. You can do that. And there are some judges that do it, but I guess I'm directing it more at those that continue to play the game. And there are breeders that go out and judge a hog show or a sheep show and have a pretty good idea of who's there, and they can still do a good job. And there's breeders out there that are going to swing whatever direction they can to make it financially work for them so they can pay their next month's mortgage or whatever it may be. And a lot of people, when put under tighter financial conditions, are going to make choices they normally wouldn't during times that they weren't financially stressed. So it's a very complex situation, but the bottom line is we just have to do better.
I agree with everything that you're saying. And we don't have a really set topic on this, just talking about, kind of year in review and hopes for the new year, stuff like that. If you will remember, this time last year, and this is how I'm going to like set this next thing off, is this time last year, I was not in a good way at all. Like, I could barely walk. And sitting up did not work. And so I was either, I could stand, I could lay down, I could barely walk. And so much better this time, but because of my injury this time last year, I had to cancel a big hog show in Georgia. And I mean, of course, that when I had the accident, I had to cancel that show too that weekend, but then I had to cancel that hog show in Georgia. And I just felt horrible about it. But I guess my thing, another thing that I wanted to bring up in my hopes for the new year is because I have been there and I understand that things happen, injuries, sickness, flights get canceled, and you drive 11 hours, or I do drive 11 hours to the show instead of fly. Things happen, and that's okay. And I get that. I think that if you're going to accept the responsibility, and I say this all the time, at least to me, judging is a responsibility. If you're going to accept the responsibility to judge a show, unless it is on that short list of, natural disaster, sick, injury, literally can't get there, just show up and judge the show. Because you said yes, and I'm telling you, I hear this more and more and more all the time. People 2 months out, whatever. Oh, I can't make it now. Whatever. Let's make a conscious effort if we're going to accept these jobs as stock show shorters to just do everything we can to get there. I've had to cancel shows. I know. I get it. But let's make an earnest effort and not just cancel because it's not convenient to go to the show that time.
I like that, and I can use myself as an example, Ryan. I do not know what I'm doing usually tomorrow, let alone 12 months out. And in my
Tomorrow
way
you're
of,
going to
of
judge.
trying tomorrow, I know what I'm doing tomorrow. I have a pretty good idea the next 2 or 3 days.
I'm just saying,
we may have a rain. Thank you. But I do agree with that. What I have done, I have changed my willingness. I shouldn't say willingness. I do not accept as many shows because of my fear that there's going to be something going on with one of our businesses, or I'm going to have to be somewhere else. So I'm very hesitant to accept those shows, and it's difficult. I could look at my calendar, everything looks great. As that show gets closer, and I think this is the same that a lot of people are in. Wow, we've got too many things going on. I can't justify getting away from home. And you make that call and say, hey, I can't make it. That's what Ryan's saying we need to avoid. And maybe the best way to avoid that is simply don't agree to take the show in the first place. If you're that busy in terms of, or have that many unknowns, is maybe the best way to do it. Once you commit to it, outside of what Ryan talked about, you do need to try to follow through with that. And I'm one that there's a lot of times I'll be traveling to a show that I'm going to be gone for 2 or 3 days, and I'm thinking, gosh, dang, I really need to be home. Well, maybe I should have said no to that show instead of doing that. And I love going out and doing shows, and I'm still going to accept and take shows. I'm excited to go out and sort some of the shows, especially when it falls in time frames that it just works, and I don't have a thousand other things on my mind that I'm concerned about. But no, you're right, Ryan. You hear it more and more, and I get calls all the time and Ryan, I'm sure you get more than I do that, hey, such and such canceled. Can you do it, or do you have any recommendations? I mean, it's happening more and more and more.
Yeah, and the thing that it does happen more and more, and I get that people are busier now than ever and all this other stuff. I understand all those things. The thing that is a little disconcerting to me, and you had this conversation that we were both in this text convo several months ago during state fair season, it's not just like the county fair or the jackpot level now. There are people a month out canceling for state fairs and stuff like that. And again, you've been announced. These people have like done all they can, because most of those state fairs announced, the judges done all they can to get that animal prepped for you. And I mean, again, if you're canceling a month out or so, it's probably not one of those disaster things. So I just think as a whole, we need to try to honor those commitments, because you've accepted that responsibility. That's not pointing fingers at anybody, because like I said, I had to cancel too this past year. And so I get it. I'm not like trying to shame anyone. I'm just saying, think about it before you say yes. And because it does matter to a lot of people who are going to that show, whatever level, whether it's a jackpot or from there on up.
You know what I worry about, Ryan? That show that calls me and I'm in the middle of doing something and I say, yeah, I think that works out fine. You can put me down for it. And it doesn't get to my calendar. And I'm capable of doing this, unfortunately. And then all of a sudden the show comes around and I didn't get a reminder, didn't get any information from it. And all of a sudden there's no judge there because I missed it. And that's on me. And I've got to be more organized and hope that that day never comes. But I'm a little surprised it hasn't to this point. And that's kind of throwing myself under the bus a little bit. But there are things that happen. I'm at Arizona right now. There's a lot of flight issues. And depending on where that person's trying to fly in from, if the flight's a go, and then last minute cancels on them and they're 24-hour drive away, that just might not work for them. And that's one of those categories that falls into that. Yeah, that we get it. Well, we're gonna scramble to see what we can do to bring somebody else in. So it's gonna happen. But the less it happens.
Oh yeah, I do want to know. I want Dale, and he may have to think about this, but I want Dale to give me like a couple of highlights of his year and things like that. But since I'm springing this on you, Dale's like, what are we talking about today? I was like, I'm just going to go with it. Don't you worry about it. I got this under control. So you be thinking about what are your highlights.
Would you like this in my personal life or professional life?
Anyway, you don't have a personal life, sir, that you talk about openly. So anything you want to talk about would be fine.
Okay, I appreciate the heads up at least.
Yeah, I know. I'm giving you all of 30 seconds. I will say that for me, I am very appreciative and very blessed for all the shows that I got to judge this past year. It's been a monumental year for me. I put something up when I judged my last one, and there was probably on Facebook or Instagram, and there was probably 20 people that asked me how many shows I judged this past year. And people don't believe this. Dale will believe this. Callie will believe this. Several others will. I don't count. I don't. I don't keep a running track. I don't count. It doesn't matter to me. I just try to judge as many of them as I'm able to get to, that I can make it work in terms of try not to lose money judging the show and stuff like that. But I don't keep I don't keep a running tally. I don't. And I think that if I did, that would be in some ways just like trying to brag or something like that. And I don't want to ever do that, because I am very appreciative and very grateful that so many people do ask me to judge. I've said this on here before. I don't believe in small shows. And if somebody says, "Oh, well, that's too small a show," then you're just dealing with a small-minded sorter, in my opinion, because every show means something to somebody, and the people that go there and the people that volunteer there. And so every show's important. I'm not going to tell you that every show experience I had this year was rainbows and butterflies and whatever, because it wasn't. I'm not going to lie about that. But at every show, regardless of some of the stickier situations and flights getting canceled and driving 12 hours and whatever, all those things, the kids were special at every single show. And that's the real important thing. And so I'm very, very appreciative and grateful. I will say that without a doubt, the one show highlight for me was getting to do the Kentucky State Fair and finally getting to judge on the green chips at Louisville, and that was, even though it's not the North American, it was a big deal, and that was kind of my highlight for this year, and so that was a lot of fun, and I really had so many things this year that were so rewarding in so many areas. I just want to say thank you, not only to the people that asked me to judge and the shows that put them on. I also want to say thank you to all you families and you show parents and show kids that tell these people we want to show to Ryan Rash. And so it really means a lot more to me than you'll ever know. And I appreciate it greatly.
It was good. That was very, very good. Ryan, I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to go a little bit personal on this. I'm going to expose myself a touch, not too far, but a little bit. So I have several that, and I honestly hadn't put thought into it until you kind of gave me heads up here because I knew you weren't going to let me skirt around it. I guess some of the things on a personal level with my family, we're excited that Tara's graduating from Kansas State here this year. Or I should say this spring. So in her final year, and I don't know if you're going to consider that next year, but we're just about wound up on that. And that's something that I hold very close, that she's getting that degree. Chase.
And he doesn't have to pay for it anymore.
There's something to that. Chase having captured the high individual at the National 4-H Livestock Skillathon, following his older sister Tara's footsteps, who did the same a few years ago. Very, very special that both of them could do that, and particularly Chase, because he really came out of his shell this year and jumped into this, and has always been a livestock kid, but not a show ring kid, and found that skillathon that he really gravitated to. And today, Ryan, I haven't even discussed this with you. I got a text from one of the staff at Arizona National yesterday that, hey, is Chase available to help officiate their skillathon here at the Arizona National? And he jumped in with both feet and had a great time officiating that contest today and helping out with that. And that's just a good feeling to watch him kind of find something that he really, really is passionate about and enjoys, and his appreciation for just the animal industry, not necessarily just the show ring, but what it's doing and the benefits. So I guess it just makes me feel good that how we've raised him in this industry, and he's been very open recently that he wants to raise his children showing and in a similar manner, and can't explain it, but because it's coming from Chase, who's kind of avoided the show ring a little bit, it hit me pretty hard. Also, like Ryan had mentioned, anytime I am asked to judge a show, I feel very privileged. I have the opportunity tomorrow to judge here at Arizona National in the open breeding cattle and several other shows that I've done this past year. Very grateful to be given that responsibility, and hopefully I can continue to do a few more shows each year, schedule permitting. In the final one, and it reminds me, and a lot of it's because I'm in the moment here at Arizona, but we work with so many great families that have maybe just started buying goats from us or have bought from us for years. And the fact that those parents, because we do emphasize so much on the customer service, and we're working with those youth and not just selling them one and hope that we hear results somewhere, but we'll give as much or as little customer service as the clients would like or these families would like. And there's some of them that we get to see at every single show. They'll come up and we may help clip, we may help fit and educate that youth or that parent and what we're doing, and get them continue to become more proficient at doing such. But the fact that those families, those parents trust us enough to put that responsibility, or we take it as a responsibility to conduct ourselves in a certain manner and set an example for their kids. That's pretty heartwarming to me. And it was something that I maybe didn't recognize as much early on as a breeder in the stock show industry, but it really means a great deal to me at this point. Each and every family that allows us into that inner circle and to work with those kids. So for that, I thank you very much. And it's been a good year. We have, obviously, Ryan and I have talked about a lot of political issues that are weighing on both of us each and every day. but in the stock show world, I think we're going in a good direction, and we've bounced back from the COVID issues, and I think we're on a good path.
What's COVID?
Was that personal enough?
There you go. Look at you. He's the share bear today. That's so sweet.
Don't you remember I told you I was going to do that episode about our exotic cats and our Argentina?
Yeah. You keep telling me that. You've been telling me that for almost 2 years now.
Yeah.
But
that's gonna get done in 2023.
That's good. That will be we'll be starting in mid-April. We will be ending the second year of this podcast and starting the third year. So nice of you to be able to share some about your business.
I'll make a commitment now. I will do it once we hit 3 million downloads. How's that?
Okay, there you go. Well, that won't be too far away. There you go. So
see, I think that's in the near future. You can hold me to that. And you can ask any question you want, and I will actually try to answer it.
Try to answer. I like that. Try to answer. Yeah, that's good. But no, that is cool, and it has been a good year. It's been a good year for stock shows. I think 2023 is going to be a good year. Again, the reason Dale wanted to do this podcast and the reason we started it is because he didn't think that there was enough conversation about both the great things about junior livestock shows and the things that need to be improved on, because nothing's perfect. And so glad that we did start this and it's continued to be successful. Really cool that all the people that reach out one way or another, whether it's at a show or message or share their stories, ask their questions, all those things. It is really, really neat that, again, he talked about 3 million downloads. I would have never thought that was in the realm, but I'm very humble. I think Dale's very humble, and we're glad that y'all continue to listen and continue to want to hear our opinions or what we think and how we can improve and how we can stay good at the things that this industry is so good at. And again, sometimes the topics aren't rainbows and butterflies, but not everything is perfect in our industry, and we have to continue. If we don't talk about it and then there's not an open dialogue, then nothing ever gets fixed. And so that is something that has been very important to both of us in this podcast and having it. And again, I told Dale that if it was successful, how to be more than a podcast. And we have the first nationwide all species junior livestock association giving out more than 2,000 awards here just a little bit. So it's been a great year for us. I think it's been a great year for the stock show season. And so looking forward to 2023. I don't know. Dale, do you do New Year's resolutions? I do not. I'm just going to be honest. I have goals, but I don't have resolutions.
I don't ever verbally or vocally voice I'm doing this. There's an occasion in my mind that, hey, I want to do better in this area, but I really can't say that I do it. I have those revelations throughout the year, and more times than not, I probably don't adhere to it as well as I should. But I like the idea. I'm just not one that.
I mean, and I know lots of people that do it and love it, and it's a tradition, whatever. I don't ever have New Year's resolutions. I always have goals. And, this time you always think about what you want to accomplish next year, and so stuff like that. But I'm not a big New Year's resolution person. I didn't figure you were, but I didn't know. We'd never asked that before. But
there are two things, Ryan, that you've just brought up here that I think fit so well when we talk about the stock show world and the year in review. This was the first year of the BTR JLA, and look at the numbers, look at the crazy success with that. If that's not a sign that our stock show world is healthy and going in a good direction, I'm not sure what is. And secondly, you'd brought that out, the success of the podcast in terms of how many downloads and how many listeners, and the awareness that it's brought is beyond what I ever imagined it could be. And we knew, I guess I was aware that first month or two that we started this on episode 3, 4, 5, 6, it was shocking to me how many listeners we had, but that continues to grow. And because of that, and just communicating with people here, every time I'm out at a show or in conversation with other livestock people, the fact that they want to talk about a certain topic or something that we brought up, and Ryan has mentioned this, we've both mentioned it, that if we can put something out there, a topic for discussion, that's our goal to get that done. Let's actively discuss some of these things that we avoid discussing on a negative sense, and discuss some of the real positive things. Just get people thinking and people talking about it, and that's the beginning of making change that may make everything better. And that's great. Or even maybe everything's really good in one area, but we can continue to do better. And I think it's accomplishing some of that goal. And it's shocking to me, we're approaching 3 million downloads. If you would have told me that we could do that in a 2-year period or in a 20-year period, a podcast that focuses on the livestock show industry, I mean, it's not the whole world. It's not a Joe Rogan topic that everybody in the country may have some appeal to. It's a certain niche market that I just didn't imagine we could get that many people listening within that market set. But I'm so thankful that you are, and I appreciate having the opportunity each week to give our opinions, and that's all it is opinion. And I think sometimes we get messages or text or calls or whatever that there's something going on that's not perfect at a show or this or that. Somehow they believe that Ryan and I can just fix it. Well, we can't do it. But what we can do is bring attention to things, and by bringing attention to such and people talking about it, hopefully that initiates the change.
Couldn't sum it up any better there. That's exactly what your idea was when you had this. And see, everybody, I want to state again, because people don't, I don't know if they just don't listen to me about this, but this was all Dale's idea. And I mean, I said yes, but this was all Dale's brainchild on the podcast of it all. Now, the BTRJLA was all my brainchild, so we even out. But and so that's
All
what
good.
he
All
envisioned.
good.
That's what he envisioned, and it's worked. And I do, you know, I one of the coolest things, and I guess this is one of the rewarding wills too, is something you'll get a message saying, you know, we had a county fair board meeting last night, and I brought up that y'all said this on the podcast, and they changed that, or they took this out, and just anything like that, where you know that what we're doing is working for somebody. That's really, really special to me, and I know it means a lot to Dale. And so again, and without you listeners, we wouldn't have any of that. And so very, very appreciative. I'm also very, very appreciative for Clifton, because without Clifton, I don't know if any of this would ever happen on a weekly basis. And so, Clifton, thank you for putting up with me for another year and bleeping me out when I need to be bleeped out, and dealing with Dale's tardiness almost every week. So we really, really appreciate you, Clifton, and thank you for hanging with us, and please don't desert us, because it'd be a mess.
No, and Clifton, I know our schedules are bad. Your schedule's not, his schedule isn't any better than ours, Ryan. So I don't even know if we need to apologize for that part. But somehow we do come up for the most part every week with a day or a time that we can all three get together. Now, I am the guilty party that I will change it a day in advance or an hour in advance more than the other two, by far. And today, Ryan, I have to admit guilt. I'm in a different time zone, like you are often. I totally missed it. I'm lucky it hit me right before we're supposed to record, because I was an hour off in all of
Yeah,
that.
and you and Clifton love to make fun of me when I say, okay,
Yes.
I'm here, so what time does that mean for me? And y'all just get the most giggles out of it. But see, now you feel my
But if
pain.
I know that I'm
But
somewhere and I'm conscious about it, it's easy to calculate. I just forget about it sometimes. But before we go, I have one other public announcement or information.
oh
We
my,
did record our first Beyond the Realm episode, or I guess Chase did, with Ryan and I as guests, that will have dropped by the time this comes out, Ryan. I believe Clifton is dropping it today. So if you get a chance,
oh,
it's on
cool.
animal intelligence. It talks a little bit about stock show animals, but it's not necessarily geared to the stock show world only, but just anything science, animals, anything that's interesting. I think Chase is gonna throw up there. And some of you have commented that you enjoy hearing Chase. He pretty much has. I don't know how long it is. I'm sure it was at least an hour, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I believe
sure.
you will be able to pull that up. For now, it's gonna continue to be on the Beyond the Ring platform, so you'll be able to find it there. I don't know how regular he's going to be able to get those released, but there is one out there, episode 1, Animal Intelligence, if you'd like to listen to that. And Ryan, Clifton, thank you for another great year. And until 2023, be safe.
Y'all come back now, you hear?